On December 18th, the racing world lost one of its most beloved champions. Greg Biffle, a NASCAR icon who thrilled millions of fans throughout his career, died in a devastating plane crash in North Carolina. He was just 55 years old. But this wasn't just the loss of a driver. 7 people were on that aircraft, including Biffle's wife, his 2 children, and 3 others. Today we're covering everything we know about this heartbreaking tragedy, the final moments before the crash, and the incredible legacy Greg Biffle leaves behind.
Ryan Blaney has won his way into the championship.
A great day for Kyle Larson.
7th career win in his 100th.
Joey Logano takes the checkered flag. Hell yeah, boys!
The accident happened in Statesville, North Carolina, during an attempted landing. The aircraft involved was a Cessna C550, owned by GB Aviation Leasing, LLC, a local company. The plane was under contract with Biffle at the time of the crash. According to the Federal Aviation Administration, the crash occurred on the morning of December 18th. The weather conditions that morning were far from ideal. Dan DePodwin, the Vice President of Forecasting Operations at AccuWeather, described the conditions as adverse. At 10:15 in the morning, the Statesville Airport was experiencing heavy drizzle with a cloud ceiling hovering near 1,200 feet. But within just 15 minutes, conditions deteriorated rapidly. By 10:30 a.m., the cloud ceiling had dropped dramatically to around 400 feet, and heavy rain reduced visibility to less than 2 miles. These are dangerous flying conditions by any standard. DePodwin emphasised that weather is often a critical factor that investigators examine carefully after any plane crash. However, he also noted that determining whether weather conditions actually contributed to this specific crash could take months to a year or even longer. The Iredell County Sheriff's Office, along with the North Carolina State Highway Patrol and the FAA, immediately began processing the crash scene. As of now, the exact cause remains under investigation. The loss of life in this crash is almost incomprehensible. On board the aircraft were Greg Biffle, his wife Christina Gusso, their 5-year-old son Ryder, and his 14-year-old daughter Emma, whom he shared with his ex-wife Nicole Lundas. 3 other individuals also perished in the crash: Dennis Dutton, Jack Dutton, and Craig Wadsworth. The Biffle family released a statement through NASCAR expressing their profound grief. They said, "We are devastated by the loss of our loved ones. This tragedy has left all of our families heartbroken beyond words." Their words about the children are particularly heartbreaking. They described Emma as a wonderful human being with a kind soul who was loved by many people. Young Ryder was remembered as an active, curious, and infinitely joyful child. These weren't just statistics or names on a passenger list. These were real people with full lives ahead of them, families who loved them, and futures that will never be realised. For those who might not be familiar with NASCAR, Greg Biffle wasn't just any driver. He was a true legend of the sport, known affectionately as the Biff. His career began in 1995 with the Winter Heat Series, and he quickly proved he had what it took to compete at the highest levels. By 1998, Biffle had moved up to the Truck Series, and in the early 2000s, he made the jump to the Cup Series, the top tier of NASCAR racing. His achievements are staggering. Biffle became the first of only 3 drivers in NASCAR history to win a championship in both the Busch Series and the Craftsman Truck Series. He earned Rookie of the Year honours not once, but twice. Throughout his Cup Series career, he racked up 19 wins, cementing his place among the sport's elite. Recognition kept coming even after his driving days. In 2023, NASCAR named him one of the sport's 75 greatest drivers, a prestigious honour that speaks to his impact on racing. And just this past year, in 2024, he received a nomination for the NASCAR Hall of Fame. Congressman Richard Hudson, who knew the Biffles personally, shared a touching tribute on the social media platform X. He wrote, "They were friends who lived their lives focused on helping others. Greg was a great NASCAR champion who thrilled millions of fans. But he was an extraordinary person as well. and will be remembered for his service to others as much as for his fearlessness on the track. That last part is crucial, because Greg Biffle's legacy extends far beyond the racetrack. What many people might not know about Greg Biffle is that he was a licensed helicopter pilot. And in September 2024, he put those skills to use in the most heroic way possible. When Hurricane Helene tore through the southeastern United States, leaving destruction and stranded communities in its wake, Biffle didn't just watch from the sidelines. He became one of many helicopter pilots who volunteered their time, their aircraft, and their expertise to help. He spent days transporting supplies into disaster areas and evacuating stranded individuals who had no other way out. In his own words, Biffle described the experience with genuine passion. He said, "I'll tell you, the feeling you get when you win a race, you can only ask drivers, right? Because the feeling you get when you win that race, that's the feeling you get when you're able to help people in need." Think about that for a moment. This was a man who had won 19 Cup Series races, who had achieved championship glory, who had experienced the ultimate highs of competitive racing, and he compared all of that to the satisfaction of helping people in crisis. That tells you everything you need to know about his character. But the Biffle's humanitarian work didn't stop with Hurricane Helene. Congressman Hudson shared a deeply moving detail in his tribute. He recalled, "The last time I spoke with Christina, just a couple of weeks ago, she reached out to ask how she could help with relief efforts in Jamaica." That's who the Biffles were. Just weeks before the crash, Christina Biffle was already thinking about the next cause, the next community that needed help. This wasn't performative charity or occasional good deeds. This was a family committed to service, actively seeking out ways to make a difference right up until the very end. Let's talk more about what made Biffle special behind the wheel. NASCAR isn't just about speed. It's about strategy, endurance, nerve, and the ability to perform under immense pressure, lap after lap, week after week, season after season. Biffle earned his nickname The Biff through his aggressive yet smart driving style. His ability to win championships in multiple series showcased his versatility. The Truck Series requires different skills than the Busch Series, which requires different skills than the Cup Series. Mastering one is impressive. Dominating multiple series is the mark of a true champion. His 19 Cup Series victories came against the best drivers in the world, on tracks ranging from short ovals to massive superspeedways, from road courses to everything in between. Each victory represented hours of preparation, teamwork, and split-second decision-making at speeds most people can't comprehend. The fact that NASCAR named him one of their 75 greatest drivers places him in truly elite company. The outpouring of grief from the NASCAR community has been overwhelming. Drivers, team owners, fans, and officials have all expressed their shock and sadness at this sudden loss. What stands out in the tributes is how many people speak not just about Biffle's driving ability, but about who he was as a person. The word that keeps appearing is genuine. In a sport where media training and corporate sponsorships can sometimes create carefully managed public personas, Biffle was known for being authentically himself. His willingness to help during Hurricane Helene wasn't a publicity stunt. He didn't announce it with press releases or social media campaigns. He just showed up with his helicopter and went to work. That's the kind of person he was. The racing was what made him famous, but his character was what made him beloved. If this story touched you, please take a moment to leave a comment below sharing your thoughts or memories of Greg Biffle. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss our updates. We'll be following this story as more information becomes available from investigators.